Them say up mind virus and the new disease, but we stand firm, we not bow to this least. Time for return to the roots, clean the land of the lies. In Jesus' name, righteousness rise. Them try to twist me.
Hello, it's Ryan from Disruptarian.com and Disruptarian Radio. It is the 25th of April 2026 here in the Philippines. I just found this amazing revelation that I'm not even shocked to find, because I've been saying this for years. The SPLC funded the KKK, American Front, white supremacist group, neo-Nazis, right? They gave them over $3 million. And they had this big thing in Charlottesville, North Carolina, back in 2015, I believe, where that Heather Hayek had a heart attack. This really fat chick, she's just huge, right? And this speeding car comes through, and I guess it frightened her, and she had a heart attack, and so she died. But everybody was like, see, I told you, Proud Boys, see, I told you, Donald Trump's a bigot, see, I told you, blah, blah, blah. The right-wing extremists, the far right, the blah, blah, blah. And the whole time I was saying, no, first, let's take a look at where these groups come from. In fact, they even funded the KKK in that $3 million. I said, who started the KKK? It was the Democrats. If you saw the Democratic National Convention in 1921, there was 100,000 Ku Klux Klan members supporting the Democratic Party. Right? Then you look at the Nazis. What were they? They were the National Socialists. They pushed a socialist agenda. They pushed eugenics. Margaret Sanger gave them a lot of their ideas for eugenics. Margaret Sanger is the founder of Planned Parenthood, right? So you look at who was out protesting Donald Trump as far as the hate groups. Well, you see neo-Nazis out in New Hampshire in front of the State House protesting against Donald Trump, right? And that's the thing I've been trying to tell my kids. Their mother brainwashes them and tells them anything to do with Donald Trump, anything like your father, anything like this, anything like that. They're, hateful, they're bigots, whatever. And, what they don't get is the real scope of things. So there was a federal indictment just given 3 days ago by Kash Patel, the FBI director, against the Southern Poverty Law Center for the big riot in Charlottesville, North Carolina, that ended up in the death of one person, because these people funded the hate groups. They were the ones responsible for putting it together. They gave over $3 million to these hate groups. These hate groups, as small and insignificant as they are, were able to go out and pay a bunch of people in their neighborhood $1,000 or whatever to, come on down to Charlottesville and protest with them. It wasn't like there's a massive showing. Nobody could believe this. Nobody on the right even knows who any of these people are. Nobody on the left knows where any of these people are. This big, what was it? The Unite the Right protest they had was a random event that there was no announcement for, and nobody expected it, and then it just came out of nowhere. Everybody, it wasn't 2015, it was August 11th and 12th, 2017. But it just came out of nowhere, and it was all these crazy hate groups that people have never even heard of, that are so insignificant, nobody sees anywhere, nobody knows about. It's like random. And come to find out now, almost 9 years later, it was the left, the Southern Poverty Law Center, very far left group, but revered by all the news outlets, the MSNBC, the New York Times, all that, always citing the Southern Poverty Law Center on hate crimes and this and that. And the left are the same people funding the KKK and the neo-Nazis as back in the day, back when the Democratic National Convention marched out 100,000 KKK members, or when far left people like Adolf Hitler pushed socialism in Germany. It's the same people pushing the socialism the National Socialism, the Nazis, the KKK, the American Front, all these people, they're being funded by the same people they've always been funded by, which is the left, the Democrats, the socialists, the Marxists. I actually just made this 2 weeks ago, long before this indictment. I talked about, let's see, this was a video that I made titled Joe Rogan, Rachel Wilcox, and Cultural Marxism, How Feminism Reshaped the Family and the Free Market. And in this, I talked about the agenda of communism, the Communist Manifesto, and I displayed a clip from the early 60s where they spoke about the rise of communism and the Communist Manifesto that said that they would turn blacks against whites, whites against blacks, women against men, men against women, all this. And that was their agenda, was to tear down society and reconstruct it with their Marxist agenda. That's exactly what the Democrats are doing now. It's exactly what the Democrats did before. It's exactly what the Nazis did, exactly what the socialists did, exactly what the communists, all of them are in cahoots. And it's not just now, and it's not just then, it's continuously, it's perpetual. That's what they do. So, I've been trying to tell my kids, they come at me because, I got my little Proud Boy shirt on. I don't know, I'm not really a member, but I do like them. I do like that they push back on Antifa. I do like that they push back against those trying to stifle free speech. That's what Proud Boys were doing when Ben Shapiro, a Jew, or Christina Hoff Sommers, a feminist author from the 70s, or anybody who doesn't support the new, neo-liberal agenda, they will go out and cause violence and havoc. They burned down UC Berkeley. They, caused all these riots and all this damage and burned all these things and beat up all these people. I remember the bike lock professor, professor at one of these liberal universities, cracked a conservative guy in the back of the head with a bike lock and, gave him some brain damage and stuff. I mean, this is the left that we know today, and it's the same left, the brown shirts and the, in Nazi Germany, and the same, communists that...
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face, and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.